Sponsored by Anthony Mendez.
AM 1220 KDOW and Money 2.0 present The Real Estate Report with Tony Mendez and Gordon Hines. Bay Area real estate and mortgage experts with over 25 years in the business. Now, with an in-depth look at this week's local and national real estate news and what it means for you. Your hosts, Tony Mendez and Gordon Hines.
Welcome back into the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendez.
And I'm Gordon M. Hines.
M as in move out the way. Gordon is about to hit the Gulf Coast. Hurricane.
Hurricane G.
Yeah. Move out the way. M for move out the way. All right. I mean, that's kind of a weird story. And the story comes, check your insurance. You know, I think after a hurricane is named, I don't think you can change your insurance or get insurance if it's headed your way. I think if it's named, or is it when it's announced as a tropical storm? Which one is it? Do you remember? We don't deal with it out here that often.
I'd have to call my insurance agent.
Yeah, I think it's too late by the time you actually know when it's coming.
I have to call my professional. That's what I have right now. A professional in place who handles all my insurance.
You're so proper.
And that's why we do. We always talk about calling professionals. That's what I would do.
Anyways, there's a hurricane coming. What's a hurricane? A lot of people out here say, what's a hurricane? Anyways, yeah, you live on the East Coast for a while. You'll get to know what those are. I grew up in D.C. and we had hurricanes. You're not immune to it on the East Coast anywhere. With that said, I'm Tony Mendez. That's Gordon Hines. It's the Real Estate Report. It's a call-in show, 800-516-1220, 800-516-1220. Check your insurance. There's a lot of people out there. We do a lot of refinances, right? And a lot of these people have these insurance, and then we get this call at the last minute from the underwriting. They go, you need to increase your insurance. 50% of the time, it seems that the coverage on somebody's property isn't quite meeting the standards of the lender, and they ask for what they call a cost estimator from the insurance company. And go through that motions, because even if it costs you just a little bit more, at least find out and then put the right insurance on your property.
Well, we talked about that. We had a show on insurance. We talked about people that are underinsured. There are a lot of people that have properties for a long time, and as time goes on, they don't take time to update their insurances. For example, you bought a house, you moved out, and now you're living in someplace else, and now you still have that policy as a primary resident when it should be a rental policy, and you don't find out the crisis of that until there's actual claim. So a lot of times you have to take time to update your policies to make sure you're adequately covered and your coverage is proper. That's what we always talk about.
Yeah, I don't think somebody, both between you and I, there's lots of rental property owned. You got to check those insurance policies. It's one of the mistakes I think a lot of first-time investors do, and they get the wrong policy, and they don't anticipate some getting a liability increase in liability insurance or an umbrella situation. A lot of people go to LLCs and they get that umbrella policy, and definitely check your insurance. But that's not what the show is about today. Again, this is the Real Estate Report. You can call in 800-516-1220, 800-516-1220. The story really is confidence in the Bay Area housing market. Houses are selling fast. The CoreLogic's most recent home price index shows that we had a 6.2% on an annual basis in July increase. The San Francisco metropolitan area posted an 11% annual price gain, the second highest of the 10 major regions, which CoreLogic tracks. But homes are selling fast. That's really kind of the story here. What do you think the fastest selling market, and just say city, just to make it easy, in the Bay Area?
Well, if I was a betting man, I'll bet San Francisco.
It's not. In fact, out of the 14, San Francisco is last.
Okay. Well, I was wrong.
Burlingame in San Mateo County, city sold that average sale dates was 13 days. Albany was second with 14 days. Pleasant Hill, 14 days. Los Altos, 14 days. San Ramon, 14 days. El Cerrito, Piedmont, San Mateo, Alameda. Wow, good for Alameda. 17 days. Menlo Park, Moraga, Oakland, Palo Alto, and San Francisco District 12. Oh, I said District 12. I guess I watched too many of those movies. District 2, and that's number 14. So it's, the Bay Area, I had a client today call and say, it should have been a question for the realtor, but we do the show and we've been in the business for a long time and they trust our opinion. He said, I'm selling my condo and I'm moving to a single family property. I was like, okay, what's the question? That sounds like a great move. So what do you think of, I'm moving up in price about $400,000 into the $1.2 to $1.3 million range. And I said, okay, so what's the question? I'm not really getting the your concern. That's the affordable range. And I went along and I explained to him that 1.2, if you were to take two people that have been working in the Bay Area in, let's just say the tech business, the average starting salary for a tech person here is $115,000 a year. Two of those together, $230,000, with 20% down buys you 1.24. That includes a $1,000 student loan payment on a monthly basis, including a $500 car payment. And you can buy a 1.25. So if you're buying a $1.2 to $1.3 million house, I would feel really darn comfortable that someone in the Bay Area that is working dual income can afford that house. And I think that we're seeing more and more of that, Gordon. And I think that number's getting pushed up too, don't you?
Well,
I'm calling that affordability cap, and then anything over that gets a little bit riskier, a little bit more and more towards $2 million.
Wait, affordability is synonymous with income. The more money you make, the better the more affordable housing and expenses you can carry. So we look at affordability, and sometimes we got to take affordability not from the signs of what they actually talk about affordability is, but you got to look at what the median income, what the average person is making. Like you said, two tech people making $115,000 each, and they don't have a problem with low income affordable housing. I mean, at 1.245 purchase price in the Bay Area is not affordable housing. It's the people that don't make that kind of money. Affordable housing, people that make $50,000, $60,000 per couple. Guy's a bridge toll taker, and his wife is a civil servant. She's making $55,000, he's making $65,000. So that's where affordable housing come in. We have to have homes for those people to afford because they also live here. They're also residents of the area. We don't want those people coming all from Sacramento down to here just for affordable housing.
Well, and let's talk about that you. Okay, so you're saying somebody who's in the lower income bracket per person or lower household income can buy those $400,000, $500,000 houses. That's why we saw places like Oakland, pretty much the whole East Bay, just explode in that lower end with 18%, 19% digit increases year over year. Oakland was at one point number 2 in the nation behind Seattle as far as home appreciation. That was because of that affordability. Now it's been pushed up, but I also believe that incomes, as they do increase, as people save more money on down payment, as rents have leveled off a little bit, as they figured out how to save and look at the market as an investment and what they want to do, they move that price up, and that price keeps going up and up and up. I think 1.2 was something I would have said earlier this year. I think I'm going to move it to 1.3 as I feel pretty darn safe. There's a lot of factors, Gordon. You look at, and there's many. You have all the people who bought or sold in the last 7 or 8 years. Bought or refinanced in the last 7 or 8 years that have got number one, the loan in the hardest guidelines that we've had in many years, decades in many cases. You've also had the lowest rate. So they've also seen a lot of appreciation. And you have a situation where a lot of people can't even rebuy their own house. So they're sitting on tons of equity. Why would they move? Second, you have not a lot of inventory. Not a lot of inventory for people to move to as well, even upsizing or downsizing. You have Prop 13. I mean, the list kind of goes on and on and on about not only the affordability, but once you get in it, the safety of owning that property. Do you agree?
Well, absolutely. But you have to look at the two, going back to your scenario with the two couples, the couple, I should say, that's making $115,000 each. What percentage of the population make that kind of income? See, so it's all relative. So if you take 10% of the population is making that income, 40% of the people we just talked about is making the $120,000 income. Then you're going to have a great disparity. So that number can't keep pushing itself up because it's going to run out of the number of people that can qualify. That's where things start to kind of tumble at the end, because as that number goes up and up and up, at some point in time it's begin to stall. And once it stalls, it goes back to what we talk about, days on the market. You start to see properties stay on the market longer. Here comes the price reductions, and here comes a dip in the market.
And it's all about inventory. More inventory, the more choices people have, the longer the property is going to stay on the market. But in my opinion, I just don't see a lot of indicators, negative indicators. I see a lot of positive factors. A lot of the variables are there. Obviously, I mean, we could have stock market, we'd have environmental disasters or natural disasters or political and so on. But when it's all said and done, I feel really good about the ownership pool. I feel better about him moving from a condo to a single family house. Those are always desirable. Let's say you are those people who can can't buy a single family house into an affordable condo, and then eventually you're going to get a single family house or want one. So there's another reason why I feel better moving from a condo to a single family. Should he keep it as a rental? He's getting some of the equity out of the house to buy the new house. It just didn't pan out. I don't know if I would keep a condo as a break-even property just to own it and see if it appreciates more. I'd rather put that and just manage the debt on the new property. I don't know. He's a little later in the years, and I don't know if he needs to build a he has a retirement plan and everything like that.
But he might need the write-off.
He might need the write-offs.
Might bring the write-off and help reduce his adjustable gross income, which is helping pay less taxes. If he can afford to carry that debt on his income, then it's probably a good tax strategy. But once again, I wouldn't advise him to do that. I would once again push him back to the professional, have him go back to his CPA, his taxpayer, sit down and say, hey, listen, if I moved from this house and kept this house as a rental, how much money would it save me in taxes? Is it going to be a benefit, or should I go ahead and sell the property and take the capital gain hit? Either one.
Great thing is he doesn't have to sell the property to qualify or turn it into a rental, which is another strategy on moving from one house to another. And we talk about this all the time. But you can always email us, Tony@BayAreaLoanSource.com or Gordon@BayAreaLoanSource.com. We run numbers like this all the time. Call the show 800-516-1220, 800-516-1220. A little bit of trivia. Who invented the flush toilet, Gordon?
The flush toilet?
Yep. I think you should know this one. You spent a lot of time there.
Yeah, I think I've got by name of James Toilet. Isn't that correct?
No, it's not. And it's not Thomas Crapper,
okay,
which a lot of people thought it was.
Okay.
So it was a guy named Sir John Harrington. Crapper was the guy who became famous because he sold the product that Sir John Harrington made. Okay, so there's a little bit of trivia for you. I'll let people call in and give us the answer on this one. Who invented the doorbell? I'll let you guys figure that out and call the show 800-516-1220 just to have a little bit of fun. Who invented the doorbell? 800-516-1220. I found quite a bit of these. I'm not going to do the whole show on housing trivia, but it's a lot of fun. With that said, interest rates, they've been holding steady. 30-year fixed, according to Freddie Mac, is 4.54%. And out of all of the rates, the one that's been going up the most is the 5-year ARM. And, we have that inverted curve, and those short-term yields have been going up a lot. But it's still a little, it's at 3.93%. You're seeing over a half a point difference on an ARM. Do you think there is less attractive nowadays with the 30-year fixed staying steady? Do you think people are still kind of fearful of that? The reset period where they go fully adjustable.
The overall person of finance are pretty conservative. 30-year fixed still remains a benchmark product. It's the most widely used product. It's the most used product, especially if the margin becomes less and less. The less the spread between the two, why risk it?
Yeah,
that's what people do.
Yeah, I think you just have to play it out. If somebody's coming to me and looking at a refinance and it's pretty straightforward, I'm starting to say more often to have you talked to your CPA? Have you talked to, do you have any write-offs? Did you do a refinance last time and pay points? Do you know that you can write those off, the remainder of the stuff you didn't write off, all in 1 year, and then you can start over off any points? Talk to your CPA. There's lots of money being left on the table if you don't, in some cases. With that said, we'll come back after this break. I'm Tony Mendez. That's Gordon M. Hines. Let's move out of the way. We'll be right back here on AM 1220 KDOW. Don't forget to call the show, 800-516-1220.
This is Money 2.0 on AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back into the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendez.
And I'm Gordon Hines.
Thanks for being with us. You can call the show 800-516-1220, 800-516-1220. I found this interesting part of that CoreLogic report with the 11% annual price gains for the San Francisco metropolitan area. That's the second highest in all of the 10 major regions that they track. The Bay Area, the San Francisco, Oakland, Napa, and Vallejo housing markets are currently considered normal valued. San Jose and Santa Rosa are overvalued, according to this report, and San Rafael is undervalued. It's estimated by July of 2023, they've actually nailed down the month of July 2023, CoreLogic projects that all of the Bay Area housing regions will be overvalued except for San Rafael. Now, I don't think this means that prices will continue going up until 2023. I think based on their pace, I think is what they're saying, our current pace. But I think it's good to hear that, if you run some numbers and I don't know what they consider a normal valued housing market, but CoreLogic is a pretty interesting company, and they compile a lot of information, and they're so good that you have to buy this information, in fact.
Well, I mean, as we always talked before, when you get information, you get a statistic, you're going to be able to qualify it as a statistic. So the first thing I want to know is what qualifies to get at a normal market. I mean, that report
normal valued market.
Normal value. That report seems to be based upon the status we have right now in the economy. Everything moving on full
I think
cylinders.
that's a fair statement.
If there's a dip in the full cylinder operation that we're in right now, that whole report can go out the window. So that report is, I'm assuming, it's going to assume that the market is going to continue on its current trend. The stock market is going to continue to do well. Unemployment is going to continue to stay low. The economy is going to continue to stay well. But if there's a change or any kind of ripple in the economic news, it could start with something going on with the president. It could be anything. It could be some economic war, anything that goes on. I think the market's going to change, and that report can actually go right out the window.
You mean like tariffs, economic war? U.S. consumer sentiment, and on that note of anything could happen. I mean, what have you done for me lately? Kind of philosophy. This one report is talking about the consumer sentiment and how it's dropped throughout the year. In fact, and December was about where it was today, but it went up over 101 in their index, but it's been dropping. And the person who did this said, I can't read his name, Curtin. He said, consumers have luckily not yet interpreted the current inflation as a source of erosion in their living standards, as a cause to reduce their buying plans. Consumers view future income and job stability as the main reasons for their positive views on spending. So on that note, where you say that status quo, we have a market that's considered normal or normal valued here in the Bay Area based on our current situation. But according to this person, consumers have luckily not interpreted the current inflation as a significant source of erosion. How do you think that if we start interpreting the inflation, data and other kinds of data like the yield curve and other things going on like Turkey, and all these yields that are just crashing, and then you have some countries that are charging 60% on interest rates. How do you think this is all going to play out? And then when we start seeing consumer sentiment, because there's a really smart guy, his name is Robert Shiller, who wrote a book called Irrational Exuberance, said that every down market has been preceded by low consumer sentiment.
Well, I think inflation is something that the average consumer does not apply in their normal thought process on a daily basis. Inflation is purchasing power. The same money you have today, buy less goods and service tomorrow. So therefore, inflation is constantly around. Everything we do is some things are more inflated than others. So as a rental property owner, one of the things I look at is if I have an apartment in which the rent stays the same for 1 year because you have a good tenant, but every year taxes go up, insurance go up, water bill goes up, operating expenses go up. So therefore, I'm actually losing money by keeping the rent to the same. So that's a source of inflation, where sometimes you hear a lot of things about greedy landlords, rents are going up. Rents have to go up to offset increasing costs, but some people never take that into consideration because all people equate is what their personal procedure is, more so than the overall scheme of the other party on the other side, meaning landlord versus tenant.
Yeah, so I guess there's different ways you can interpret how you feel about the economy based on your current situation. As a buyer, though, you don't have a foothold here. You don't have a foothold here. You don't have a rental property. You just have a job. And you go, this is my income. This is my savings plan. And you could be 30 years old and expect to have, a certain type of retirement. And don't count on Social Security. I wouldn't put that in the equation yet. And then you start thinking about your sentiment and your buying power and your future investment. And do you lose your deposit or your down payment after a certain period of time? So, I think it's your perspective. I think it's also your foothold and your what you got in the game. Right. We'll come back after this break. My name is Tony Mendez. That's Gordon Hines. This is the Real Estate Report here on AM 1220 KDOW. You can always go to our website, BayAreaLoanSource.com, for more information. It's BayAreaLoanSource.com.
This is Money 2.0 on AM 1220 KDOW.
Going back into the Real Estate Report, I'm Tony Mendez.
And I'm Gordon Hines.
Gordon M. Hines.
Thank you for listening. We're here every Thursday, drive time special from 6 to 7.
This is our 8th year on the air, same station, same time. Well, actually, we were on Tuesdays at one point, and then we moved to Thursdays.
Clock is changing. We're losing a little bit of daylight. Have you noticed?
Yep. Spring forward, fall back.
Get a little darker a little earlier.
What do you think of the Millennium Tower? Do you think that if you had 50% off on one of those beautiful condos, let's say it's a $2 million condo and you buy it for $1 million, would you live there? This thing's leaning over, windows are cracking.
Sure, why wouldn't I?
I don't know.
50% is 50%.
Yeah, I know, but it's also what somebody will pay for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What we'll say, they might fix it. Who knows? It's sunk 18 inches and tilted more than a foot since 2009. That's just crazy. What other thing did you ever? Things settle. Houses settle. How often do you see a house do you see an old that's built in like 1950, and then now it's 2018? You got 68 years of that thing settling. Do you feel a bit more secure about a house that's older, about some of the settling issues, cracked foundations, or do you feel a little better about a newer house in those respects?
Well, I think
You see my logic, though. It's already gone through all of those, tremors and earthquakes and
proper preparation, I don't think has much to do with age. If the foundation is properly set, they use the right type of foundation for the right soil. I remember a few years ago, I've done some transactions out in Danville, and there was one development in which the soil engineer had recommended not to use a slab foundation, and the builder used a slab foundation. All those houses had cracked. So, if things are not properly executed and rules are not properly followed, you are going to see some turbulence in the value and quality of your home.
And I see that, that's why you get inspection, obviously. And you might get a roof inspection or you can do a visual, but you got to get that inspection. I mean, I don't know if I'd buy, there's I'm seeing more often where you can get your inspection, but you almost are flat out being told that your offer is not going to be accepted unless you waive all contingencies, including the inspection contingency. How do you feel about that? I mean, do you trust yourself, or do you, because you almost have to do it right away. I mean, we just went through a list of homes that sell in 14 days in most of the Bay Area, up to 17 days, and you have a very short period of time to say, I like this house, I want to put this offer in. Oh, no contingencies. I can't protect myself. So talk about that a little bit.
Well, I mean, you can sign anything. You can always litigate. You can always find a way out. Sometimes it might be cheaper to lose your deposit than to make a bad deal. So because you bought, let's say you won this property badly, it was a competitive bid, you wanted to get it, so you want to make sure that you didn't put a contingency in, and you're going through your formality of buying the property, you find something distinctly wrong, and you might have to make an executive financial decision. Do I want to continue with this process, or do I want to just lose my deposit?
Is that just a massive turnoff just right off the get-go?
You can do it.
I know you can do it.
So
I mean, if I was going to sell a property and I was going to say, well, I don't want you to have any contingencies at all, including inspection, I'm going to at least provide an inspection report, right?
Well, I mean, some people do, and some people don't. It depends on where the property is and how valued that property is to many different buyers.
How many people are lining up to buy it?
If you got 29 offers on a property, you said no contingency, there's going to be some sucker, I believe, is going to go for it. But that sucker might be a contractor, so it's irrelevant to him, or he might going to tear the property down.
Yeah, they might have extra 20 grand to say,
so a lot of things is what's relevant to me might not be relevant to somebody else that's financially superior. So everything is all relative. I always tell people, relative decisions. I've bought houses without inspections and reports because I know what I'm doing. But for the average person, shouldn't do that. I might make a mistake, but at least I'm prepared for it, and that's what you have to do.
What do you tell you? We only have 30 seconds left, but I want to kind of ask you, what do you tell your realtor when they say, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. The house is fine. You get that cracking, that's fine.
Well,
just buy the house.
Your realtor should not be telling you that.
I know. I was like, that fired. Yeah. Anyways, you can always visit our website. It's BayAreaLoanSource.com. You can always call the show 800-516-1220. Get a professional. It's funny. You keep saying that. I was like, oh, that's kind of corny. But anyways, we'll come right back after this break. AM 1220 KDOW.
This is Money 2.0 on AM 1220 KDOW.
back into the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendez.
And I'm Gordon Hines.
So, Bill actually knew the answer, but I'm sure he looked it up. But who invented the doorbell? But I'm going to ask you, Gordon. It was Mr. Joseph Henry. What year did he invent the doorbell?
I would say 1932.
Oh, you were off by 100 years.
1832?
1831.
Wow.
He had a strong interest in electromagnets.
Okay.
And that's how he came up. He was only 31. Good for him. Nobody remembers him.
Everything you want to know about doorbells and we're afraid to ask.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun trivia out there. Anyways, you can always call the show 800-516-1220, 800-516-1220, or email the show, Tony@BayAreaLoanSource.com or Gordon@BayAreaLoanSource.com. We enjoy all scenarios. Scenarios are something that we really enjoy doing, and I've been doing it for years, and I don't want to say I do them for free. I mean, eventually we are in the business to give people loans and buy and sell houses and all that good stuff, but it really does give us a good feeling of what it's like out there and what people are doing. Your business is a little bit different than mine. My is a bit different than yours, and it's different than Jeff's. It's different than Jim's and all the other guys that are in the office and all the other agents that we know. Everybody's a little bit different. And I think it's great that you have everybody connects in a different way to their clients. But scenarios are always something that I've enjoyed doing, and we do see a lot of mistakes. What do you think your biggest mistake people on a most often you see?
Well, I think people sometimes don't understand the leveraging. So, for example, there was a client about a year ago.
You're going to talk about me?
No. There was a client, and she was a first-time buyer, and she was very upset with me. She thought I was cheating her, actually. She's looking at a house, and I never forget, it was $345,000. She was putting down 5% and rounded off her payment, tax and insurance was like $2,000, right? Then she came across a house for $325,000, which is like $20,000 less. And I think when I worked the numbers up, the payment was like $80 less. And she was saying, well, how could that be? How could I be buying a house for $20,000 less and my payment's only like $80 less?
To give it the other way around, $80 more, you can buy $28,000.
So what I did she left me this arrogant message on the phone, so I had to come in. I have her sit in front of the computer, and I plugged in the purchase price, and I showed 5% down, and I showed the interest rate. And they decreased the purchase price by $25,000, and I said, there's the payment. I said, it's leveraging. So it's not a dollar for dollar reduction in monthly expenditures, and so these things people do get fallacies, or you say you want to pay off your house, double your payment. A lot of people say that. So it's a financial ignorance, and that's why we're here. We like to hopefully be educating people. We're doing a service. It's more like a public service type deal we're doing. So when you listen to us on the radio, you're taking the information and becoming a better consumer, right?
Yeah, ignorance meaning don't know, and I think people also take that word the wrong way. It's just educate yourself. But yeah, I see mistakes all the time, but it's not meaning that you're going to send me a scenario and I'm going to rip it apart. I'm going to help you. I'm going to advise you, and I think it's important that people always reach out to and get multiple opinions on their strategies, and hopefully you guys can think of us as a really good source for that. You can always email me, Tony@BayAreaLoanSource.com, or Gordon@BayAreaLoanSource.com. Top U.S. destinations where young adults are moving. I look at these, Gordon, because I'm kind of a trend kind of guy. I may throw out some numbers, and you give me a lot of crap for it, but I kind of like following these trends. So you got a place like Pulaski County, Missouri, that's leading the nation. They had, because young adults are moving there, 7.8% of the population increased with a median age of 27.2. Only 23% of them had a bachelor's degree or better. And you look at something like that and you go, Alexandria, Virginia, ooh, they're on the map. And Charlottesville, Virginia, with a 50% of adults with a bachelor's degree or more. Do any of these stats do you follow any of this as an investor and say, do I want to live there? Do I want to move there? Or is this more something of just, I'm a millennial and I'm going to, there's another really interesting article about how often millennials move. I think I'll find that while you are doing your thing.
Well, stats are very deceiving. Those people might be moving from Jefferson City, Missouri to the other state just mentioned in Missouri. I'd like to know where they're moving from, where that information coming from. I mean, how those kind of things are interesting, because if there's nothing there, There's no job center there. There's no Amazon moving to that area, bringing in multi jobs. There's no big university there. Have a lot of. There's no great nightlife. There's no water to where young people like to be. So those kind of things I get. I look at those 3 times before I kind of accept those trends.
So yeah, and it is kind of just a trend. I don't know if I would be an investor and say this is what, unless it's a big Amazon or a Tesla or something like that. Somebody's going to hit a home run with Amazon. I think they're going to bring in a lot of high-paying jobs into a city, but
it still haven't been announced yet because we got a bet. We have a bet.
I know where I think it's going to be.
I know where I think it's going to be.
Yeah, I know where it's going to be. It's going to be in Northern Virginia, but that's beside the point.
I think Miami, Florida now is really pushing the tables to get Amazon to come there.
So with that said, millennials also. Did you know this? 79% of pet-owning home buyers who closed on a property this year said they would pass up on an otherwise perfect home if they didn't meet the needs of their pet.
Yeah, I saw something like that the other day on CNN where there was one lady bought a house and spent $30,000 after she bought the house to make her house pet friendly. It's kind of interesting, and most people don't think that pet. These people don't have no kids. I always tell the pet is better than the kid. I always tell people if somebody call you a dog, it's actually a compliment if you understand dogs. But people are very, very, especially in today's world, pets are. Look at PetSmart and Pet Care. All these places are popping up in every shopping center because people are very, 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 very frantic.
Listen
about
to this.
Their pets.
This is an even higher stat. 89% of millennials who bought a home so far this year own a pet, according to Realtor.com. And a full 73% of millennials currently own a pet, owning or renting. So I guess if you own a pet, you're 89% more likely to buy a house as a millennial. Does that work out in the math?
Well, simply because a lot of landlords aren't pet friendly.
If you don't,
if you want to have a pet, you can't really bank on being a renter and keeping your pet. So you're much obliged if you buy your own house, and that way you don't have to worry about no landlord putting you out if you own your
or
pet.
if you're a millennial and you don't have a pet, you're 89% not likely to buy a house. You could look at it that way. So get a pet. We'll come back after this break. I'm Tony Mendez. That's Gordon Hines. You can always email the show, Tony@BayAreaLoanSource.com or Gordon@BayAreaLoanSource.com. Our website is BayAreaLoanSource.com. We'll come back. It's AM 1220 KDOW, and this is the Real Estate Report.
Get past the people, get past the hitman. Get on down. I want to get on the good.
Welcome back into the Real Estate Report. I'm Tony Mendez.
Gordon Hines.
Thanks for being with us. You can always call the show 800-516-12. Miss James Brown.
Yeah, we're going to end this show on the good foot. That's what we're going to do.
What was I going to talk about? Scammers, be careful. I always try to give you a good piece of advice here. What is it? $12 billion since 2003 has been scammed from potential or from buyers. And what they essentially do is when you're buying a house, at the last minute you have to either say, "Oh, this is how much money you need, $100,000 to down payment. This is your balance," and that your scammers have been kind of monitoring this because they have hacked your email or they've hacked the title company email, and then they send you an email that says, "Wire this money here." It looks all official. It's got the title company information on it, and that money goes overseas. And the problem with that is that you never get it back. Rarely do you get that money back. It's done. It's gone. So be very careful about those emails. If you're buying a house, call your title company. Hey, did you send me this email? Can you verify the routing number and the bank and make sure that money gets there? Be very, very careful about that.
Yeah, title companies are very, very careful too. I just sold a property and they sent me a request for my email and my banking route number, and then they called me to verify that it came from me, which is very, very important. We always got to take extra steps when we talk about putting money out of our hands. Credit cards, we all been scammed. I've got my credit cards have been hacked.
Credit card just got.
And you got to pay attention. My checking account has been hacked. You got to pay attention. And what they're doing now, they're taking small amounts of money. They're not looking for the home run. Yeah. So a lot of times you're least likely to miss a few dollars out your account than the big home run. So pay attention, basically.
I was wrong. It was since 2013 These types of crimes have topped at $12 billion. That's not 2003, 2013. So in 5 years, they've made a bank, and it's going to 115 countries around the world. The FBI says, and it's really difficult to get the money back. Do you want to talk about the House of the Week?
Well, before we get to the House of the Week, speaking of scams, a friend of mine sent me an email today. He just bought a house, and he told me he sent me some paperwork to look over, and one of the paperwork was some service that he paid $87 for. That's a public service, by the way. He said because it came looking this official county stamp.
Would you like to get a copy of your title report?
Yeah, and he sent him $87
don't
for something that
call your agent.
He could have actually gotten for free. Once again, pay attention. Don't be quick to touch that check.
Yeah, I've gotten those many times. House of the Week, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, House of the Week, we do a lot of different things here at the show. There's a great client we're working with, and this young lady has a beautiful property in the Martinez Hills, and we're kind of assisting her on these transactions. She's a long-term client. That's what we're here for. We're here to guide and help people. House is listed for $1.2 million and $1.249 million, and it's a beautiful property. We had the drone photos up there. The people are coming in, so we always like to help wherever we can help, and we're not just here to help you in the loan business. We're going to help you in real estate also.
You can always find that. Just email us, and I think we'll be able to stick it on our website or not.
Yeah, we'll forward it to whoever's interested.
Tony at BayAreaLoanSource.com or Gordon at BayAreaLoanSource.com. But that, see what else we got. You got any? I love these articles. It's better to rent than to buy in today's market. I knew this one's going to stick with you. It's better to rent than to buy in today's market. Now, we used to believe that. And then we had the lowest home prices that we've seen in the Bay Area for many, many, many years. And then now it's reverting back to that old, it's more expensive to rent. I'm sorry, it's more expensive to buy. Do you believe in that?
It depends. I mean, for some people, not only people for homeowners. As a matter of fact, there's a client now we're working with. I was just going over numbers with this young lady, and we talked about how much you can actually afford. And one of the things I pointed out was, once again, she's moving the outlying area to afford housing. I said, listen, you have to look at the amount of money you're going to spend. You're going to cross 2 bridges now to get to work instead of 1. The amount of mileage you're going to be putting in your car, wear and tear, gas, all those things.
$4 a gallon.
She's moving to an area where it's going to be really hot. So your temperature gauge, your utility bills are going to be at a great cost. So a lot of people don't consider those costs when they look at the home ownership costs.
Get a good rent versus buy calculator. You can always email me. I have a great one, Tony at BayAreaLoanSource.com. We'll come back next week. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, Gordon. This is the Real Estate Report. You can always go to our website, BayAreaLoanSource.com, for more information. You can always call us, 800-516-1220. We'll see you soon.